I don't think anybody wakes up and says, hey, I want to be an insurance agent. Now, for the people listening, you're part of the top 1%. But most people, the other 99% who are great employees, they woke up and just kind of fell into it.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Trained Well, where we help insurance agents sell more, train faster, and win bigger. I'm George Elsice, and today we have a special guest, Gary Inzana, better known as the Hire Guy. Gary is the founder of Top Tier Recruiting and Consulting, a firm that has become a go-to source for insurance agencies looking to build their dream teams. In just a few years, he went from interviewing candidates alone in his basement to leading a full staff of recruiters, conducting over 150,000 virtual interviews and placing over 1,000 plus candidates with agencies across the entire country. Since starting Top Tier in 2019, Gary and his team have helped more than 1,000 insurance agents solve their biggest headaches in hiring great people fast. Gary's approach to recruiting is both innovative and hands-on. He's even earned a reputation as the notorious hire guy, with the most magnificent beard who delivers magical results. Top Tier's mission is to simplify the hiring process for busy agency owners, taking the stress off their plate by sourcing, pre-vetting every candidate, and only sending along the best matches. Gary essentially acts as an on-demand hiring manager for agencies. Turn us on when you need us, turn us off when you're done. That's his company motto. And in this episode, we'll dive into Gary's personal journey from one man in a basement startup to an industry-leading recruiter. Learn about the services and strategies that have made Top Tier so successful and extract lessons in business and leadership that you as insurance agents can apply in your own agencies. Get ready for a fun, educational, and insightful conversation that'll leave you with new ideas on building your A-team in the insurance world. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
How'd I do? Did I do okay?
Wow, I am notorious. So you hit that on the nail.
Awesome. Well, I always start with this. You were born, now you're here. What happened in between?
Wow. Well, I was born here in Rochester, New York. I was raised in a little canal town called Spencerport, New York, that's where my current office is right now. From there, I went to college not too far away at SUNY Brockport, played some sports, had a pretty competitive spirit. Had a time finding my way. Even after I graduated college, I was waiting tables, bartending, doing security gigs, working with kids with special needs. I had a whole bunch of slew of different jobs.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And I think that's what kind of prepared me for being a recruiter, because you deal with so many different people in so many different areas of their lives and different jobs that, as a recruiter, you learn to pull people. If you're looking for sales, service, management, you don't have to always pull people from where you think you're supposed to pull them, right? There's people in all different jobs that could work well with insurance. And well, at about 30 years old, I told myself, hey, I don't want to be a waiter anymore. If I'm a waiter by 30, for me, well, there's nothing wrong with being a waiter at 30, but for my self goals, I knew that I needed more. So I got a position. Before this, I was a regional tire sales rep for Bridgestone, and I'd worked in a couple mechanic shops as the manager. I don't know how to wrench, but I know people, I know how to sell, and I'm honest. And so that really works well with fixing cars. That brought me to the recruiting world, where I worked for another recruiter. Didn't work out. About 7 months into it, I got let go. And from there, I had a good feeling about what I was doing and about a direction that I wanted to go. And that wasn't their direction. There were some things that I wanted to do. And I was lucky enough to have my name out there. And at the urging of some close agent friends that believed in me, because I sure as heck didn't believe in myself, they gave me enough wind in my spirits to venture out. And I started working for agents for free. And even after they offered to pay me, I said, listen, I don't need you to pay me. I need you to tell everybody about me. And so basically through word of mouth and testimonial videos that I'll put up on social media, I was lucky enough to grow my business. And I have, a handful of people working for me now in different states, at times different countries. And at one time we had our 12 office suite filled up. Now I'm actually getting rid of my office because we're downsizing, because now everybody's remote. It's been an awesome ride. I love working with agents. I'm nothing without my agents. I got a great team. I got a great team of pretty much all A players that were developed. Not everybody's an A player at the interview or in in the beginning, but they've all been trained well. They all work very well, and we have a pretty tight system.
Sure. And I guess maybe that's a good starting point. What's the difference between an A player, B player, C player in your eyes?
Well, I actually break when I coach my agents how to make the most out of the interviews that we provide them, we actually break people down into A, B, and C teams. The A team people, they got the smile, they got the hair, wherever it may be. They got that charisma, that charm. They can talk. They got the gift of gab. They're sharp. But that comes with a double-edged sword because sometimes A players, you get lucky and you hire yourself an A player and they fit well with your team, they fit well with your culture, and they can produce whatever position they're in. And that's kind of rare. There's also the A players that are harder to manage. And this is a pit stop on their way to greatness. And so, in my opinion, where I like to hire my people is kind of from the B team. They're people that are hungry, that have the drive, that have the desire. They may not have the skill sets yet, but I can tell they want to be with me. I've had a number of my employees actually find me off social media and say, I want to work with that guy. I don't know. They must be crazy. And I love developing people, taking them from where they were, whether it be, I don't know, it was a soap factory, Amazon workers, working in a mess hall in college, working in a daycare, all sorts of different places, and then molding them and giving them their own office, giving them responsibilities, and then watching them grow. That's typically where I like to hire, and that's my favorite group. Then there's the C team. For whatever reason, those are the untouchables. You think about the caste system in India, they're the people that for whatever reason, you never hire them, whether they're coming to the interview with a mustard stained t-shirt and they smell like cigarettes, or they're borderline obnoxious, or you could tell they might be a good salesperson, but they absolutely don't fit in your culture. So really the C team is in the eye of the beholder. I like to work in ranges. You might consider a person a B plus player that I consider an A player. Right. And so that's why it's crucial that we like to work in ranges. Not everybody's going to be in this specific range. Sometimes we need to open up that range. And I'll tell you, I had one time I was working for an agent in New Jersey, and there was this guy. He was borderline. He had a real swarthy Jamaican accent. He was a used car assistant manager at a used car dealership. And I always remember this. I was like, man, she's desperate. She really is just dying for anybody. And he's borderline. I would say I didn't know, I put him on the interview with her and she says, Gary, that was the best interview I've ever had in my entire life. And that's where I learned right there that it's all in the eye of the beholder.
Sure.
Certain people can see certain things in candidates and in their employees and in themselves.
Yeah. Well, and I totally agree with you on like the B player thing. Not to discount anyone on our team, of course, right? We got really good people on our team. But yeah, I mean whenever like I'm looking, it's you want someone young, you want someone hungry, and like the way my father-in-law Chad Birch would always say is like it's like a will over skill thing, right? If they have the will, you can sort of train from there, or you want them young, dumb, and full of energy, right? Just like ready to go, full of energy, want to learn. But yeah, it is kind of, I've never really thought about it though, where it's like, you're bringing them to the agent and like someone that, may not align with you just really clicks with that agent that you're working with. And to be clear, like it's just insurance agents you're recruiting for, right?
Well, before I get into that, I got to tell you though, but according to your stats, you must have a team of all A players. So the way you train, the way you develop your team members, obviously you're onto something, right?
We got great people. We got great
Fortunately,
people.
trainable, right? I have all A players on my team, right? And I'm sure they were A players at what they were doing in their respective fields. But anyways, what was that? What the question you were going to tell me? You just asked me a question.
So when you're recruiting, is it like purely in the insurance field then?
Well, yeah. 99.9% of it's insurance. There was an agent that I worked for who I had a good relationship with. She was looking for a nanny, so we helped her find a nanny.
For sure.
I had another ex, I can't know if I'm allowed to say the name of the company, an ex, we'll call him up on the blue team, sold his blue agency and he purchased a nuclear waste facility in Colorado. When one time we were looking for an integrator. The next time we worked with him, we were looking for wastewater engineers. And then I've done a handful of car dealerships, but most of those jobs are some side gigs for the agents. Like if an agent has a side gig, and they understand what we do, and I have a good relationship with them. I'll typically, depending on what it is, I'll take it. But out of 1,000 accounts, 999 are going to be insurance.
Sure. Well, and how'd you decide to go into like the insurance niche of recruiting, right? Because I don't think you were an insurance agent, right?
No,
But what made you go into that specific niche for recruiting insurance?
well, I've always been a team player, and there was a good friend of mine, we'll call him Bill because that's his name. He had some connections with a very successful blue team agency owner, and they also, as a side business, they were starting up a few side businesses, and I applied for, he just wanted to meet me and see where he could put me, and it ended up being with a recruiting company. And in the beginning, we weren't necessarily insurance. Like they were having me call ice cream shops in Denver, and I'm on the phone. My goal was to get 4 hours of talk time within that 8 or 10 hour day that I'd work.
Mhm.
So I would be smiling and dialing for the first 6 months, but I soon kind of found out, and I think they found out too, that the low hanging fruit was already in their network. And so we took the CRM that I was working on, and then we boiled it down to just agents. And so I just started cold calling agents nonstop for the first maybe 4 or 5 months after that. And once we built up we started having people prepay for like a month out. We had to stop selling because we were just starting. And while they ended up letting me go about 7 months into it, without getting into the drama, is I didn't fit on their team. I never felt like I did fit on their team.
Mhm.
I'm not a corporate yes man, and so I think that's what they craved at the moment. There was some potential issues with pay, who knows? And one thing that struck me, at least at the time I was with this company, was there was no real interviewing of the candidates. They were taking the name, the phone number, email address, and then within 1 or 2 minutes, that's what they were training the recruiters to do. And I said, man, if agents are paying us thousands of dollars, right? Why don't we actually speak to these candidates, right? And maybe void out some of the burger workers and not to say that people who work at a burger joint couldn't be a potential good employee, but the candidates just weren't that good. We were getting a lot of complaints. And so I always said to myself, hey, if I was to ever do this, I'm actually going to make myself different and actually interview each individual candidate before I put them
Mhm.
with an agent. I mean, go figure. A recruiter wants to interview a candidate before they get in front of a client. And so that's all I did. In my basement, I got up to about 4 accounts a week. So I'd be recruiting for 4 different agencies every week. I did the advertising, I did the marketing, I did the selling, and I did the recruiting.
Wow.
I love He-Man. In case you can't see my posters, I in my basement wearing the He-Man T-shirt for 3 days. I lived like a goblin on coffee and ibuprofen, and I had my headset on in front of my computer, and that's all I did. In the first 10 months of recruiting, I had interviewed over 15,000 candidates because I was interviewing 6 days a week, often at 10 to 12 hours a day, nonstop. The average day, I'd interview about 40 candidates.
Wow.
And it got so much, I said, hey, I think I have to hire someone. Right. So I got a small little office and I hired my first employee who ended up being my vice president. He's making
That's
quite a bit
awesome.
more money than he was before. Really smart guy with a master's degree in business. Together, we were able to build a decent sized recruiting agency. And I had been doing all the sales up to a certain point. Then we just started adding recruiter. I dipped my toes in a while, hiring some salespeople. A couple worked out pretty good, a couple not so much. But what I learned was, and maybe I kind of put myself in a corner, that all in all, the agents want to talk to me. You know,
Right.
you build up this relationship. I was trying to separate myself to work on the business, which of course everybody wants, but I kind of position myself as the go-to guy. So, nobody wants to talk to the B team. They want to talk to the A team.
Mhm.
And so that's what I do right now. I do all the selling for the agency. I do all the setups. I have a team of matchmakers that work for me. I have a team of recruiters that work for me. And I'll tell you, I love my relationship with my agents. I probably have 3,000 agents on my cell phone, and I've developed some great relationships on both sides of the aisle, red and blue. Got some really good friends that I could call up anytime and we just chit chat, about whatever's going on. So some really good people in the insurance space.
I mean, I always think insurance in general is just like has like the highest concentration of just like good people. You can just get along with them instantly. If you find another person that's in insurance, it's like instant friends, which I learned later that's called trauma bonding. But to me, I just say it's like an instant friendship. It's instant family, right? So
Yeah.
What were some of like the turning points or like key moments in your business where, went from that first hire for top tier to where you guys are at now?
Probably the biggest turning point that I noticed was because I think we got up to 15 employees at one time, but part of that was my ego speaking. I really wanted a big team under me, but there were a lot of people that were underperforming, but they were really nice people. So I kept them on for this, and the money was rolling in quite a bit. So it didn't matter. But at the end of the day, I had to start whittling out the people that just weren't cutting it. And we've molded our business model probably 4 or 5 times, and now we're down to like 9 people, but we're doing just as much business with the 9 people than we were the 15. But the turning point was when I had this, maybe I had 8 or 9 recruiters working for me, had 2 or 3 salespeople working for me. And I thought the coolest thing, at least for my company, a turning point where I knew I must be going somewhere is where I hired a team of VAs in the Philippines. So at one time I had 3 or 4 VAs working for me. And what their job was, they would go online, see who's hiring. And we built up a whole 20,000 agent database of CRM for agents. And of course, if an agent is breathing and they have blood in their veins and their heart is still pumping, then they're hiring. But we had the hard data behind us, and we basically created our own CRM based around agents. So, I don't know, getting the VAs, having people work for me in a different country was, I don't know. I just knew we were onto something big, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that we changed our business model probably 4 or 5 times because the market is always changing.
Mhm.
We used to only do, and we still do everything we've always done, but we focus more on different things now. So like when we first started, we had worked our way up to 15 agents a week doing unlicensed candidates. So I've been working with 15 individual agents every week, and sometimes we'd be booked out 2 months. In other words, you give me your money now, and I won't even start your account for 2.5 months.
Sure. That's
Right.
impressive.
But slowly, with all the competition, other people coming into the market. At one time, it was just 2 of us. Now there's like 5 of us. So the unlicensed, and of course, the market needs more people who aren't licensed. And I was always staying away from that. I wanted to just keep it easy. Let me just give you, a whole bunch of unlicensed people, and you can hire whoever you want, volume style, take what you can. And slowly but surely, we started working with licensed remote candidates. That started working very well. Then we started doing local licensed candidates. We're one of the few recruiters that does local licensed candidates for the area. Some areas I won't take depending on the geography inside. Like I talked to a lady in, was it Billings, Montana? 100,000 people in Billings. All the other towns had like 500 people in them. And there were 18 red agents in that town of 100,000. And I just said, hey, I'll help you find some unlicensed. It's going to be tough, but I don't want to throw my hat in that ring for license. So it really kind of depends where people are. But what I don't want to do is oversell my services and then have the agents with these high expectations. I'm very brutally honest and transparent. Through the changes, I'd say every year or two, we're making significant changes with the way we do business. And what it's boiled down to is we're doing less work with less people, and we're earning more money, which I figured after a while that was going to happen.
That's good business.
Yeah, but it's also good business when you're beating 15 new agents a week, what's the math on that? Like 615 times 52, whatever that is.
Let's see.
750?
780. 780.
Yeah, when you're working with 780 agents and probably 3/4 of them are new every year, you know, the referral based, we talked about it earlier. I maybe ran a couple $100 worth of ads when I first started because I didn't really know what I was doing. But then I learned the organic reach is I'm friends with thousands of agents. Thousands of agents are in my Facebook group and on my business page. And when they, through the testimonial videos and the reviews, when they see their agents and their friends, because nobody really is going to believe me in anything I say. I'm just a vendor. But when they see their friends and, their
Third party validation.
Yeah. And that's how I built my business. I was lucky enough to do it.
That's awesome. Well, and like when you're, as you were growing your team and now sounds like your team's basically fully remote. How and I like that you called them matchmakers. I thought it was very cool. But how are you like training? The name of the show is Trained Well. How are you like training your team to sort of have that eye for the candidates and sort of help find the right candidates for these agents, especially now that you're remote too?
Well, I got to tell you, first it starts with trust. And all my recruiters right now, I think the one with least experience on my team is going into his third year. I have one recruiter that was an ex-Blue Team All-State agent that he works for me part-time. I have a major full-time recruiter who was duly licensed in P&C and life and health, and he was on the Blue Team as well. And he's an older guy. I understand that the value in youth. I have a handful of people that are my age or older that are freaking killers on my team. You know what I mean? But so I think it depends on the person, right? But it's that trust, and we're always changing. So, like, for all of our calls, we have a set script, right? And basically, my training for them is don't put a candidate that's going to embarrass me in front of an agent, right?
Okay.
If they're rude, if they act like they don't care, they don't have the time, if they're blasé, let's move on, right? Not everybody's going to be a sharpshooter like George, right? Some
I don't know
people,
about that.
yeah, I think so. But not everyone's going to be like that, right? We're working on ranges. Who you consider a B, this guy considers an A. I might consider a guy A. This person thinks he's a C. It is what it is. So we sit with our candidate. Well, we sit with our candidate. I can't talk today. Our employees. We'll sit with them for at least a couple weeks. They listen to how we do it. We sit with them in old school style, whisper in their ear while they're talking to the candidates. And basically, we're looking for good people, right? Not everyone's bad. I should say it like this, but like I'm looking for someone who's hungry, who gives a shit, that wants it. It doesn't act like they want to be somewhere else or they're lackadaisical about it. It's more of a personality that we're looking for than the skill sets. The skill sets are extras. Desire is 9/10 of it. You can have the best quality salesperson in the world or manager or customer service, but if they only 10% want it or they're only freaking with it halfway, you're going to get a half-ass end product, right? That young man or young lady who's in it to win it, they're in 100%. Right? You're only going to see them constantly grow, right? I'll take somebody with no skill sets or low skill sets or different skill sets who actually has the drive and desire to want to be with me. And that's the same way we look for candidates for agents. They have to have a drive and desire to want to sell or be involved with insurance. Be open to it, right? The candidates in the first minute of our phone call, hi, I'm Gary. I got a copy of your resume. It's for the local XYZ agency here in XYZ. You got a couple minutes for me? Yeah, of course they do. In the first minute, we go over the base pay, total compensation, benefits, schedule, hours, and I stop right there. How does that sound? Because what I believe is if the candidates don't want to work for the offer, and that's the offer.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, it's only 40,000 is the base. Oh, you can only earn up to 85,000. Oh, it's Monday through Friday. I was hoping to work nights and weekends and on Christmas. You know what? I'm going to find that out on the first minute of the phone call. And then another way we'll zero in on candidates is we let them know, hey, this position is, it's not remote. You're going to be driving to our office here in XYZville every single day. You're going to be on the phones and using the computer all day. Are you comfortable earning your money over the phone in our office? Or if it's remote, if it's a remote, home remote or whatever it is, we'll tailor that specific interview, but it's towards the activity level. Because if they have a problem with being on the phone, which is 99% of what we're looking at here, they're a 200-pound paperweight for the agents, and I'm wasting everybody's time. So I pre-qualify all our candidates with those two questions within the first minute or two of the call. Then they earn the right for the actual interview, whether it be sales, service, management, whatever it may be that you're looking for, right?
Smart. Well, yeah, if you're going to do that many interviews, you got to have a way to qualify them. So,
well, you may have it in your job post, and that translates to we have a very transparent job post. But I don't expect these candidates to remember the one out of 50 job posts that they applied to. I don't think anybody wakes up and says, hey, I want to be an insurance agent. Now, for the people listening, you're part of the top 1%. Yes, you woke up and said, hey, I want to work for the red team or the blue team, right? You saw the value of what they do. Most millionaires are in insurance. But most people, the other 99% who are great employees, they woke up and just kind of fell into it, right?
yeah. Yeah.
The transparent, the job post, a lot of agents rely on these ATSs that are tied in with their company, right? And they're forced to work on templated forms. The problem is, a lot of agents I talk to, when I actually go over their job post with them on the intro call, they're surprised that there's nothing of substance in it. Well, what do you mean? Well, what's your base pay? What does it show in the ad? Nothing. What's the total commission they can make? Doesn't say. What benefits is it? Doesn't say. What's the schedule? Doesn't say. Oh, but it does say snacks provided, lunch provided on Fridays. And I think I even saw one that says you offer a roof over your head only when it's raining, right? I'm kidding about that. But okay, so let's agree on something. Is this a specific job post or is this a vague job post? And they
Right.
all say,
No, exactly.
it's vague. Okay, so how's the quality of the candidates that are applying to the post? Is there a great volume? Well, no. Okay, the people that are applying, how are they? They're mediocre at best. Well, do you know why that is? Why? Because vague job posts, specific job posts garner specific people. Vague job posts typically yields people that don't have a lot going for them, right? They're willing
Yeah.
to apply to a job that doesn't tell them anything. Room for
Right.
advancement and snacks. Boy. So that's why when agents use us, they're surprised at the volume that we can bring them in a short period of time because we're very specific. A lot of agents don't want to put their base pay and separate their commission and their job post. It's more than likely it's because they're not proud of it and they want to focus on the whole picture. And
Sure.
yes, we need to focus on the whole picture. The right candidates are going to want to earn a lot of money. What today's candidate, they want it all, right? We know they can't have it all, but there's got to be some sort of happy medium. Candidates don't want to work for $500 a week anymore, plus the best commission around, the best commission in our region. I have never met an agent that told me that they had the worst commission. Every single, like, well, Gary, you don't understand. This is
Yeah,
my
we pay.
basic
Don't
business.
worry, we
We
pay
have the
below
best
market.
commission. I'm like, hey, listen, I completely believe you. I believe you. I know you're not lying to me. I'm here to help. Would you believe that candidate's been told the same thing from other agents they've interviewed with?
That's a good point.
So be specific in the job post. If it vets the people that you were hoping to get, it's doing its job. Because at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't want to work for that offer, they may work for you for a little while and then they're gone. And if they don't want to work for the activity level, they're not going to last. So specific.
Yeah, well, and obviously, I'm on the sales training side of things, and my brain's simple, so I just try to apply the principles of sales to just about anything. And if you aren't being clear about the pay, the benefits, the commission, it's kind of like hiding the price, when you're selling something. And you can only hide the price so long, but at the end of the day, if you wait too long, they'll never buy because they never knew what it was going to cost them anyway. Right. But I want to go back to something you were saying earlier that even like I struggle with a ton, despite, hiring on the insurance side, hiring for the training company, is the trust factor. Right. And especially with like in your situation, you say, biggest thing with my team, it's the trust.
Yeah.
But you're obviously bringing a team member, you're from the outside, you're bringing a team member from the outside to the agency, and now the agent has to trust them. And I even find myself sometimes like I kind of have to like check myself and be like, hey, you got to like delegate this out. You got to trust someone else to do it. How do you sort of let go and get to that trust, and how do you help your agents do that too?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've had some really good managers that I worked for, some managers that I really look up to, and I've also had some pretty bad managers. Now, I'm not saying I was the best employee either, but I know what a bad manager is. And I don't think trust has to be earned. Trust with me is automatically given. You can earn my loss of it. The candidate, your employee can feel if you don't trust them. And that affects potentially their job performance, how they feel about you, the culture, right? So when people come work for me, I treat them like immediate family. They have to lose my trust. It's always worked out better that way. Why are you hiring the person? Why are you making them earn that you already gave them a job, right? If they suck, you're going to fire them. If they do well, you're going to keep them and nurture them. So I think trust is automatically, it's gifted immediately. And listen, as a business owner, a lot of times we don't get back what we put into people. I remember I had a young lady that this was probably a sign. She was crying on her second day. I said, what's going on? She says, I'm sad, I'm depressed. I says, hey, I understand. You're going to see a therapist, She says, I owe my therapist $400. I can't go see my therapist. I said, okay, stay right here. I went and got my checkbook. I cut her a check for $400. I says, here, I want you to go see your therapist. It's her second day. You know what? She was a great employee for 6 months. Was it an investment? Yeah, I ended up working. But, that's how I treat my employees, Hey, Gary, I got no food at the house. Some of the people that first start with me, or I don't have any gas in my car. Let's go take a walk. I don't know.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, just treat them like family. Well, it's kind of like treat them like family and they'll act like family. So they'll treat the business like it's theirs too. So
For the most part, they do. But
Yeah,
you never, when you do that with someone, you're giving to give. And I've learned the hard way not to expect
of course.
what you are hoping to get in return. So, as a business owner, you're constantly taking care of your people, you're constantly giving more. But here's the deal, if you don't take care of them, somebody else will.
Yeah, yeah. When you're interviewing people, when agents are interviewing people, what's like your list of red flags where like you hear these things and you're like, boop, they're out. There's no way. You just stop right there. Like what are some of the things you do hear, you look for where you're just like, if I hear that, I'm out.
Phone presence, if they got loud music in the background. I am a dad. Sometimes, if there's a baby crying or something, I'm tend to be a little bit more flexible with it, but having some self-awareness, a lot of people don't have that. Like I said before, if people are rude or they act like they'd rather be somewhere else, or I'm bothering them, or they seem hurried, well, I make it quick. Have a nice day. Not everybody's going to be the smoothest talker you've ever met. You know, do they sound trustworthy? Do they sound like they want it? Are they, people that badmouth their last employer? That freaking irritates me beyond all recognition.
Yep.
Now, you might have been working for an asshat. I get it, but it looks so horrible to sit there and badmouth them. You know what I mean?
Right.
They could say, I got let go. They can say, hey, I didn't get, there was an issue with commission. Okay. You can say, hey, their management style didn't work with me. Okay, let's move on from that. Right. But some people perseverate. And then let's talk about your next job. And then that boss was horrible. And then that boss was horrible.
There's a common denominator.
Yeah, I'd say so. My favorite, we typically don't do any reference checks, never. But hey, if I were to call your last boss, I would just call him at this office number here, right? What would he say about you? Would that be okay if I called your old boss? No, no. Okay.
That'll do it, right? That's enough.
But then again, I gotta say, I've seen it on the other end where poor candidates are given their notice, and the boss throws them out of the office immediately. Writes a horrible letter to them, writes a horrible letter to the company, tells all their staff not to go to their wedding. This happened in a real situation, and I'm looking at this poor young lady's review from the month before that was 4.5 out of 5. But basically, I'm not looking for thin-skinned people. Activity's okay, but too sensitive, not so good. Not everybody's going to be a ball of energy. There's some pretty good, not a B candidate, but a B, like not a type A personality, but like a slow, relaxed B personality. Some of those people are sleeper salespeople. They freaking knock it out of the park. Not every customer wants a ball of energy in front of them. So it really depends on who's in front of me. I'm not really huge. Like, I understand resumes aren't going to be the best, but spelling errors on your resume, or like, no attention to detail stuff, I tend to overlook those people. I'm not really resume centric though. If they got the basics on their resume, if I could pull something from them, I'll call them. And there's been some pretty amazing people that had mediocre resumes. And then there's other people who obviously had a professional, HR person write their resume for them, and it looks beautiful. And you wonder how they their autonomous nervous system allows them to breathe on a daily basis. You know what I mean? So,
Yep. Yep.
but to answer your question, I'm looking for good people, and you got to find the good in people. Not everyone's going to be just like me. Not everyone's going to be just like the agency owner I work for.
Right.
You know this. You have a sales staff, and they all probably have pretty different personalities and different energy levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
have
was I always say, like leadership, and I learned this from good leaders, so it's not like I came up with it, but it's all about getting everybody going in the same direction, but you got to do it their way almost. You got to find how you're going to get that person to go in that direction, but it always has to be the same one at the end. Yeah.
differentiation. You change the lesson plan depending on who's in front of you. Our scripts, I'm always open to someone changing the script so it'll benefit them as long as it rolls and sounds good.
Mhm.
Right. And oftentimes I'd have people give suggestions. I get together with my team all the time, and we're going over our direct hire script. And our main recruiter, Dave, I say, Dave, how do you do it? Well, and I tell him, no, I think I want to do it this way. And then he goes, no, let's do it this way. Yeah, that does make sense. All right, we're going to change it all over again, guys. And so we're changing it all. We're always making adjustments and changes.
That's awesome. And when you're looking at sales candidates, customer service, customer care candidates, what are the differences? What are you looking for on each side of the line? Or, the front door and the back door of the business is what I always refer to it to. What are you looking for on each side? Like, we'll start with sales. What are you looking for there versus customer?
Before I say anything, I got to tell you, there are no sales without service, and there's no service without sales, right? If you're not taking care of your customers, they're going to go somewhere else, no matter how good of a salesperson you are, or the product that you got. Salespeople, a lot of them tend to be the more energetic people, right? But not necessarily, right? I think it's where their drive and desire is. A question you could ask somebody if they're more geared towards sales or service. A couple questions. Do you consider yourself more a hunter or more of a nurturer?
Hmm.
What's more important to you, a higher base and a lower commission, or lower base and a higher commission? Tell me why. Sometimes that's a double-edged sword because some people want both. My last job, I negotiated a higher salary because when we're talking about commission to somebody who's never done it before, think about it. Oh, you're going to give me 5%. That's amazing. 5% of a candy bar, 5% of a house, 5% of a Toyota. What are we talking 5%? But I know the salary. I'd say also, too, when you're looking for salespeople, people that typically have been in high volume situations or that are typically solving a lot of problems, people that are in high energy environments. But really, though, the people that want it, that's really what separates sales and service because not everybody wants to smile and dial. Some people are much more comfortable receiving phone calls.
Mhm.
And then they pivot on those calls too,
Sure.
right? Not everybody's going to be an outbound dialer, but I'd say two questions you could ask is: are you more of a nurturer, or are you more of a hunter? And then what's more important to you? Typically, not all the time, salespeople say I'd rather have the higher commission, or they might say something like, I want both. I definitely want high commission, and I definitely don't want to work for peanuts.
Fair.
It depends on when you catch these people because you catch some candidates when they don't know their value yet. You can tell you got a quality person on your team, and well, what do you want to start at? I remember, somebody I hired on my team that was incredibly bright. 16. This is many years ago. 16, he says. I go 16. I said, so 16 is going to make you happy? That's what you want? 18. All right, 18. Let's do 18. That sounds better, right? He didn't know. He couldn't see what I saw, and I saw a really solid individual. So, um, I don't know what else gives me a feeling of salespeople. People that take charge in the conversation, people that seem not to be scared, people that are open. It's something you more or less experience when you're interviewing tons of people. It's like when people ask me, how do you sell? I'm much more of a shower than a teller. You know what I mean? I have people sit with me while I sell, and I tend to perform better that way too when I have an audience. But for service people, well, people that have been in customer service jobs that want to stay in customer service,
Sure.
people that tend to, because I'll tell you, they go hand in hand. Because I could say an educator, a service person's a good educator, but isn't a great salesperson an educator? If you did your job appropriately, you're selling, excuse me, you're educating the customer so they make their own choices. So hopefully they make the choice to grow with your agency.
Right.
Service, definitely looking for some detail oriented people. I know salespeople typically aren't the most detail oriented people, they're more results people.
Mhm.
Service people, organized. They got to be super organized. I mean, I know both have to be organized at the end of the day, but somebody who's more thorough, somebody who's more organized, somebody who's nurturing, people with kids. But then you could say salespeople, that some of the hardest working salespeople have kids driving them.
It's motivation. Yeah.
I don't want to go gender, but certain parents with maybe grandkids or kids tend to be more patient, and patient people are great at service.
Yeah.
I don't know, man, because I'll tell you, sales and service, I think all in all, the attributes kind of line up with each other. And I think the separator is the desire of the person to want to do it. Because you could be the
Mm.
best salesperson, but you don't want to do it anymore, and you got to do something. Well, you're probably going to be better at service right now.
Yeah.
I have had great service people that I'm like, holy crap, dude, why don't you freaking sell? Like I have people on my team right now, they're amazing with our agents, but they don't sell, right? And I say, okay,
Mm.
I'll tell you what, find the need and then pass them off to me. I'll sell it and I'll still take care of you, right? You don't have to sell, I'll sell. I don't care. So it's such a fine line, though, man. I mean, there's qualities in each. I think at the end of the day, it's desire. Do you want to sell?
Yeah. Yeah. When you're interviewing someone, I've heard conflicting things on this and I kind of have a personal opinion on it, but like nervousness in an interview. Like you can definitely tell they're nervous, their hands are shaking. Is that a good sign? Is that a bad sign? I think it's kind of a good sign.
I do too.
I want to hear it from you.
Well, how about this? They're scared out of the mind, but they're still in front of the dragon. I get nervous when I'm interviewing for a big role, both when I'm the interviewer and interviewee. I can tell you this. One of the jobs before I worked here, I worked for Bridgestone Tires as an upstate in Western New York State sales rep, where I had basically all of upstate New York as my territory. Before that, I was working in a mechanic shop as a manager. And when I went to go interview, I went and interviewed. Well, you could tell when there's an impressive shark in front of you, right? And we were interviewing at a hotel. And I went to the bar, not for an alcoholic drink, but I was going with the guy to talk. And he goes, "Hey, you want something to drink here? You want like a Diet Coke or a water or something?" And I said, "Oh, no, thank you. I drank yesterday." And when I had the interview, I didn't have a lot of money. I was wearing just a nice plain polo that my wife was able to iron out for me. I was sweating quite a bit. I remember my hands were shaking and my voice was quivering. And I was in front of a panel of like 7 people. And to make matters worse, the main interviewer stood up, grabbed his chair, brought it over to me, put the chair backwards, and sat in front of me face to face and was talking to me. And I was like, holy crap. They hired me, obviously. I think it's because they could see I really cared and I really desired it. You know, people that are overly confident, you might even call them type A people. Sometimes that's not the best. That's not the best personality. Not always.
Yeah.
We do a lot of we do local licensed, unlicensed local candidates. For the unlicensed, we do a lot of group interviews, right? How else are you going to interview 25 people in a week, right?
Right.
And I'll get reports from agents. Oh, I don't know about the candidate. They were nervous. I could see their hands shaking. Just what you said, right? And here's the truth: we don't tell the candidates it's a group interview unless they ask. So when they show up, how would you feel as a human? I don't care what type of skill sets you have.
Yeah.
There's 5 people in front of you. You see it's an in-demand job. You're put on the spot. You don't know what's happening next. You got to figure out a way to sell yourself on the fly in front of a group of your peers you weren't prepared to do, right? Closest thing to a real cold calls you're going to get. But think about it. They were scared and they stayed.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing, and you got to remember, after they get used to you, they're not going to be scared all the time. They're scared right now because they want it.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's lost in today's world is nervousness, anxiety, stress, whatever you want to call it. I think when you have it, 1, it's normal, it means you're alive, but 2, it just means you have a serious case of giving a shit.
Yeah, I agree, bro.
It's okay that it's there. It means you care, No, it's good. So we got nervousness down. What about someone negotiating for pay? Is that good? Is that bad?
Well, I got to tell you, I have an amazing matchmaker on my team right now. Younger, could probably be old enough to be my daughter, I guess you'd say. And I don't feel like that in my maturity level. I feel like we're equals. She negotiated a higher salary. And I'm not going to lie, I took Daniel aside, my right-hand man, and I was pouting. It's like, oh, is she telling me what to do? I mean, I'm probably going to give it to her, but what the heck? I go, well, hold on, wait. If she can negotiate with me, she can work with my agents. So I hired her. And I want to say after like 3 or 6 months, I gave her a $100 a week raise. She was that good. I said, yeah, you're getting a raise immediately.
Wow.
And I got to tell you, I mean, at my last job, people can go on LinkedIn and look what my last job was. They hired me for 60. I negotiated 65. Because again, here's your commission. It's fictional. Oh, you can earn between 80 and 150. Oh, we're going to give you 10% of every job you sell. How much of the jobs we're selling? I don't know. We're still figuring it out. All right, good enough for me. But I like it. I mean, think about it, right? I think it maybe how you might feel about this. I don't know. I feel a little initially as a big
no, it's funny. This first thought goes through my head.
I feel like disrespected, but on the flip side, this person knows their value.
Right.
Now it could also be that they end up being the biggest pain in the butt after you hire them, but then you can always fire them. Think about it, right? So what? You're giving somebody an extra $100 or $200 a week, right? To give them what they want, they will do more for you. And if they don't, fire them. Or either you're going to see constant growth with them, because I typically hire people that haven't done this before. Either I'm looking for consistent growth or results. If they're not where I want them to be, but I see growth, high five. In my particular case, it was pretty much instantaneous growth, instantaneous results, and part of that's luck. But no, I respect it. I really do.
No, and it's a good point too. Yeah, it always is a little offensive at first. You kind of have to recollect, and you're like, yeah, I mean, they think they're worth it. They're confident, especially if it's gonna be a sales role. If they can negotiate, you need that. Tell me about Top Tier. How does it work? Immediately, the offer looks totally different than most recruiting agencies, but I want to hear from you. How does Top Tier work?
Well, to keep it simple, we recruit local licensed and unlicensed candidates. We recruit remote candidates. We'll recruit for single carrier experience. We'll recruit for specific carrier experience. To keep it simple, we have a local license program. It's a 6-month commitment for agents. And in 6 months, we guarantee a set number of local PNC licensed candidates. And the cool thing is, it's like a buffet. I don't know if you guys ever remember Old Country Buffet. Pay your $15. You got the chocolate water fountain, the fried chicken, and the sundae bar, and all that stuff. So basically, agents pay a single fee, and then they can sit at the table. We're on the hook to bring them a specific number of local licensed candidates, and then they can hire whoever they want. We do the same thing with unlicensed candidates, but they see a lot more of these unlicensed. We could do 24 people in a week. You'll interview all these people in about 4 or 5 business days. We'll do group interviews. Like if you're an agency owner and you want to hire people just in your state, and you're okay with, I can't guarantee all these people are going to be on the red team or the blue team, but I can guarantee single carrier experience. So if you want to sit down in front of, say, over time, 10 or 15 PNC licensed single carrier experience candidates in a group type setting, you can hire any of those people. It's a single fee. And then, of course, we have our direct hire program. If you want me to spare the labor pains and show you the baby, we have candidates with red and or blue experience. The red resumes that we put up are with the red team. The blue resumes are with the blue team. Purple resumes they have
They've done both.
And this is the only program we offer free interviews up front. And then the agents just pay us a simple fee to hire the candidates. I don't have to sell anybody listening to this podcast that there's a 50% employee retention rate in the insurance industry. Agents are hiring 2 or even 3 to keep 1. So I know these candidates are limited, and it's an equal shot whether they last or not. So we put a little skin in the game, put a safety net down for our agents, and it's been working quite well.
Yeah, the free interviews is crazy to me. When I saw that, I was like, how is he doing that? But it must be working. Where can people find you? How can they get a hold of you?
Well, they could always call 406-RECRUIT. That's our main company line, 406-RECRUIT. They can go to my website, toptiergary.com. That gives some more information. It's got some testimonial videos. It's got our Google reviews. They can just look up Top Tier Recruiting and Consulting, or they could go to our Facebook page or my personal page, Gary, Gary, Inzana, Inzana, or Top Tier Recruiting business page on Facebook. And we have plastered all over it video testimonials, webinars that we've done with successful agents and managers. And I got resumes as of now all over my Facebook. All you got to do is click interested, and we'll connect you with the candidate.
Wow. I mean, if you're out there looking, right, you can literally see the resume and tee up and even talk to the person that you want to interview without paying a dime. That's unreal. So seriously. All right. Well, to wrap things up, I have one more question for you.
Oh boy.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
That I've ever received? Well, I'll give you the best piece of advice that I've ever learned. That's okay. Don't be looking for that unicorn who's just like you. I made the mistake in the beginning of only trying to find people like myself. I don't know how that would have worked out so well in my business. I think it's very important to have a diverse team. Like I've said earlier, not everyone's going to be that energetic guy like me. There's some other more patient people, more nurturing people. I think it's important to be open. I also think it's very important that you don't hire necessarily based off age. I understand, we all want a 20-year-old with 30 years experience, right? It's going to work for you forever. But the data shows The average candidate's working for you for a year, maybe two, if you're lucky. Anything beyond that, you're an employment god in this industry,
Mhm.
right? You know, when you're looking for the candidate, I've had agents say, "Oh, they don't look like they're going to be with me for 5 years." Yeah, probably not. Right?
Especially on the sales side. Yeah, for sure.
They're never going to be like you. You know, I look for the hungry folks. I look for the folks that want to be coached and mentored to do it my way. And then I'm also be open to your team bringing new ideas to you. Like I said before, we sit down as a group and sometimes
It's huge.
they change the script and I say, yeah, that sounds really good. It sounds better than I do it. Do that.
10
So,
heads is better than one. So
so like I said, don't always look for someone who's like you. That's I learned that right off the bat.
I like it.
Me and my
No,
right hand man, I could never have done this business without him. That got this far, and we are polar opposites. Except we're both good people. We both care about our team. We're both family oriented. We're both process and end result driven. So in a way, we're quite a bit alike.
the core values are there. The core
Thank you.
values are
The
there.
core values are there, but otherwise, as people, I mean, we're complete. He watches anime. I like He-Man cartoons. I mean, come on, you
There
can't.
you go. Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Gary. You probably have 100,000 people to interview, but I appreciate you letting me interview you. So
Yeah,
thanks again.
man, I appreciate it.